And I am very fortunate, or we actually, I should say, are very fortunate today to have John Rubio here to do our celebrity interview. And John, I'm going to apologize because I didn't, pull the update on your introduction and whatnot. I'm sure you're very shy and very reserved about talking about yourself and
right.
sort of thing. But somehow you work for some small company named IBM or something like that. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about who you are, John, and thank you for coming here and sharing with our class.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I do work for IBM. I work with a company called Simpler Consulting, which is a small group being 150, 160 people of a larger consulting group, IBM Consulting. So there's the technology side and products, and then the other side of IBM is consulting, which supports the technology and the technology integrations. And I work with a smaller group that focuses specifically on, let's say, Lean Six Sigma. And that's our history. We've been doing that for 20 plus years. Most of us have 20 and 30 years of Lean Six Sigma experience. In fact, I go back with Toyota before they ever called it Lean. Womack, who I actually worked with when he was a professor at MIT, he wrote his first book, Machine That Changed the World, and that's how I got introduced. And then, of course, I worked with Toyota in the auto industry and worked with Masaki Mai, was one of my senseis or my teachers, amongst some of the other Toyota folks. So most of our folks have similar backgrounds, and my job now today is integration of technology and applying Lean principles and concepts or Lean transformation to the integration of technology in organizations. And that's all Fortune 100, 500. I mean, kind of the client base is the who's who, on the New York Stock Exchange, probably most of the companies there. So.
Yeah. John, it's certainly a hot area, and I know there's a lot of students here on class and people that be graduating. The demand in that sort of field of integrating the latest technologies and things into the way we work is going to be really important. Just want to sort of back you up. I love the lean lineage that you described. You got the right roots for this kind of job. But right now for IBM, are you regional vice president, or for what is the title thing that goes in?
Yeah, my job's changed probably every year for the last 5 or 6 years. I'm still with Simpler, still with IBM over the last 5 years. We started originally when Truven Analytics acquired Simpler, and my job, I was a partner in the firm, so my job was running different groups. At one time it was the industrial, and then that moved over to healthcare. So I was kind of North America. Well, it started with regional, so I was West region, kind of everything west of the Mississippi in healthcare, working with Truven because it was healthcare based. And then it transitioned to North America, and I took over the North American market. And then with the 3 or 4 changes within IBM, that's changed. So as the organization got bigger, the scale of the job kind of got smaller, but more focused. So right now I am involved with what they call public and healthcare sector, those sectors and markets, and it's focused on healthcare in particular, even though our organization also works in industrial and government. So
yeah. Well, that's interesting. So I don't think we've had anybody from healthcare yet who we've done for lead sub interviews this quarter. And that's such a huge area for Lean and Six Sigma now. Why is that?
Why is it? Well, there is
healthcare climate, right? It's not oral manufacturing, right?
There is one person practicing, Dr. Steve Holtzman. You've had him speak, I think, before, and I've been there with him at one of your Lean conferences. They have radiology associates in SLO, and basically they've done a great job of applying. So there's one in your backyard, but basically because there's paradigms, paradigms exist all over the world with every group, every organization. And in the healthcare world, even though lean has probably been out there for about 15 or 20 years, maybe 25, if you go back to Virginia Mason and Theta Care, when we started working with them years ago. But because it's difficult, the paradigm is, it was created in say the manufacturing industrial world, so it's more applicable. I think we've shifted past the paradigm of, well, it doesn't work here. I think now they look at it as being applicable to healthcare and other industries. In fact, even today, the applications that we're seeing through IBM are just about every type of organization in the world, where they're recognizing that what they have is a current state today, the current state process needs to be refined, and new standard work, for example, needs to be implemented. And through that standard work, then comes the advent of technology and non-technology solutions. So
John, you kind of saw us, torturing a couple of our students, with
sure.
the root cause sort of thing, which is not necessarily unusual in sort of lean sensei coaching kind of sessions and things. Is that sort of real or applicable based on your experience with organizations and stuff?
Absolutely. I was smiling when the two of you were asking those questions, because they are so real, so current. One of the things I'm talking about, Fortune 100, 500 companies speaking to the C-level, we're saying what's the root, what's the root? What's the reason for action? Box 1 in the A3, for example, the tool, but what's the reason for action? Well, we may take hours spending time on getting, multiple leaders agreeing to what's the problem at hand, because if you have 15 leaders in the room, you get 15 different answers, and they're going down 15 different paths, and then you have variability. And it's, no, you're here, let's define that one main reason. And you were able to hone in on that in both examples, kind of quickly, lack of standard work, for example, or maybe variation, in processes, right? And then the timeline that needed to be reduced. But absolutely, still all the tools are still applicable today, even at the different levels, different organizations.
So John, maybe with that sort of 15 different managers, 15 different versions of what the problem is, I think, you could, I guess you could sort of look for sort of this, I guess the thing would be looking for that holy grail sort of problem, like this one, but a lot of times it's just you need a good place to start, maybe. Like, are some problems sort of better than others, in your mind, as to how to, start on these sorts of lean journeys for organizations? What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think today the projects I worked on this week were more kind of public government, state of California. So think of DMV, or what's one of the problems that we know about at DMV? Long wait times. Is anybody frustrated going to the DMV? Well, guess what? They're actually taking Lean Six Sigma and applying that to try to fix the frustration that customers, clients, all of us, we're all customers and clients are having. And part of it is, how do we redefine some of our processes to minimize the long lead times and the frustration that clients, customers are experiencing.
I like the thing that you touched on there. If you're looking for a problem to start or a place to start, look for something that has, not only the impact in the lives of the customers, but also your employees. And we think of the frustration in the DMV of us as customers in line. I don't know, and we kind of got a little bit of that, from my friend there describing, some of his things. Well, the people at the DMV, are they lazy? And maybe not so much, maybe it's, you know, they're just sort of in a bad system and they're playing their hands the way they've been taught or told, right?
So same examples that were presented in the beginning of the class. So, you know, there's no, I love the comment about no bad people. And I used to say, and still do say the same thing. No one got up this morning to go to work to try to do a bad job. You know, they're just working with broken processes or bad processes. And typically, there's good people that work there. They're probably just as frustrated as the customer, but they have a multitude of different pathways, broken processes, systems that don't talk to each other, you know, systems that aren't integrated. And so the idea, you know, is how do you break that down, you know, simplistically, take the people out of it, look at the process first, and then improve that. And then, you know, my advice would be do that first and then apply technology on top of that. Don't apply technology on a broken process, which is 9 times out of 10 what we're running into is everybody is looking at technology to solve the problem. We just need a new system or a new application to put in place to fix it. Well, the process was already broken. You need to fix the process, then apply. Maybe the original application was good. It was just, it's not being followed or adhered to, or maybe it needs a new revision or new upgrade. So you don't know until you fix the process. But the 3 or
John,
4 pillars, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, make sure I encourage the students, if you have a question, to type it in the chat, and we'll ask you to pop on and talk to John a little bit. So you're looking at some, I don't know how much you get paid per hour for talking to students, John, but, you know, I know I'm not writing the check, but
Don't worry about it.
it's an excellent deal, for folks that are trying to solve some problems. It also, you know, and I think, you know, that's a little bit about sort of the consultant's role in working with these companies, right? And, you know, we always sort of talking, well, maybe some of these things are common sense, you can do it yourself, but, you know, asking an organization like Simpler and IBM to sort of come in and, you know, help you come to a solution. And, you know, if a student came on now and said, well, I'm trying to get my dad's organization to do X, Y, Z, and I talked to this, you know, hotshot guy from IBM, and he said the same thing. So kind of
Right. Well, you know, it's, I've heard a lot of those comments, you know, too, because I was a practitioner for a good part of my career. I was in the auto industry, I was in manufacturing. I was working in the Central Valley of California, so not too far away. In fact, most of my family went to SLO, and I was working and go to school in Southern California, but it basically spent most of my years learning probably my craft by doing the work, working as a practitioner. I never thought I'd ever get into consulting. I was not a career move. To be totally frank, the only reason I went in originally is because I did well in my career and was getting promoted. And during my promotions, that usually required moves. So I worked, which everybody feels is exciting. But when you're eventually get married and have a family, to move across the country or North America multiple times, it was like being in the military. Every 3 to 4 years, I was being relocated to start up another operation and starting the process all over again. And on our about 4th or 5th move, we decided to stay put, and consulting gave me that ability to stay in the same place. So we're back here in Southern California, living in the same place for 20 years now, where before we were relocating every 3 years around the country. So, but anyway, it's interesting because things have changed so much. In fact, probably the biggest challenge today has been the advent of change. I used to do workshops all the time, and I would show that scale of change, the progression of change, and it was this vertical line that would go up on that scale, and it would have the history of change.
right.
And you've seen that before. And, today it's like the line just continues to go vertical, and change happens so quick. Technology, I mean, every, 3 to 6 months to 8 months, the technology is changing. So everything that I thought that I'd be doing in my career, changed in consulting. But then even in that period of 20 years of consulting, probably in the last 5 years, it's just gone vertical. It's changed tremendously. So.
All right, so I'm gonna kind of go and look and see if we got any hands or questions. Students want to pop on and kind of give us a question here. Yeah, so it looks like we got Zach. Zach, you want to pop on and ask your question?
Yeah, sure. What's the most interesting project that you've worked on that you yourself had the most impact on?
Well, I'd love to say a lean transformation, because I can tell you there's been a few of those where the organization at multiple levels, from the C level vertically down and then horizontally, has changed, and they stayed the course for 10, 15, almost 20 years. That was probably the most exciting. But we've also done some other really exciting work, like how to fly more sorties off an aircraft carrier, how to help special operations, the Navy SEALs, when they're getting ready to go on a mission, how they can put something together for a particular mission anywhere in the world, depending on the circumstance, in a matter of hours, not days and weeks and months, which would normally be other military or governmental operations. But how can they do something in a matter of hours and be in another part of the world with everything that they need to do that job? Some really interesting things. It's so broad, and it's so interesting, because what we don't realize is every process and organization has problems and opportunities, and they're so different. So that's probably some of the military nuclear power plants, when they're having to change out, cores and things, to disposing of radioactive material. It's been all over the place. So lumber mills, companies that really have discrete types of manufacturing, really unique types of manufacturing, nanotechnologies, working on microscopic products. So instead of being in big plants and big rooms, the entire company could be, in your garage. It's been really fascinating. So.
John, I think, for young people that are looking at careers and what is that they want to do, we always talk about, building your capabilities and your toolbox and your skill set. Nice thing is, all industries, all processes use processes, right? They need to be improved. And, the ability to work on all those kinds of interesting things you mentioned certainly is a selling point for me.
Absolutely. We used to have a lot of MBA courses. Some of the Cal States, they built in lean curriculums, and we helped them deliver some of those or create some of those curriculums, and actually helped with a couple courses. And the first thing I teach or tell everybody is, learn the basics, learn the basic tools. It's probably one of the most valuable classes you're ever going to have, between the lean and the quality, because it's applicable on just about anything. And, it's interesting because, we've worked in so many different kinds of industries and companies, which is why it's been so fascinating. People, look at, I have in my office a wall with different things on it, and they go, "Where is that from?" And I said, all the different companies I've worked at. I got to work on, launching the space shuttle, and how cool was that? We worked on a camera project in the space shuttle when they were launching satellites.
Yeah.
And I said, and I was literally working with astronauts, where I saw their picture on the wall, in the orange, uniforms with helmets, and teaching them how to do a value stream map. So those tools were applicable to just about anything and everything. And it doesn't matter what industry you get into. It could be banking, could be security, could be, any kind of technology. Those are just basic tools that are applicable to anything and everything. So even running college campuses, we've worked with universities, on improving, orientation process at a campus that was really bad, and how to improve that. So the experience for the customer, the students, was better. So it's amazing.
All right, John, looks like we gotta kind of wrap it up at this point. We're trying to make our interviews a lot tighter. I know we probably talk for hours about this stuff, but I really appreciate your coming and sharing your knowledge with our students. The way we wrap this up is, I ask you, is there any, one piece of advice that you could give to these people just starting out on their lean journeys, and, what would that piece of advice be?
Yeah, probably four things. Think of 4 bullets. So learn the basics of lean. They'll be applicable to anything you do. The second that I'm learning is be flexible and adaptable. So when change happens, you can shift with the change and don't get run over. Probably number 3, learn the people skills. It's people, process, purpose or strategy, and then technology, but learn the people skills, because that'll do you well no matter what your career chosen path is. And then apply technology post improvement, not pre improvement. So fix the process, improve the process, then apply technology. And I'm telling you, 9 out of 10, everybody wants to change the technology before they fix the process. So the other 3 points are applicable and pre to that last one.
All right, John. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Hey, John, one way we want to say goodbye, if you switch your screen back over to the gallery mode, you can kind of see the students. And so what I want everybody to do is give John a wave and thank you. And John, if you page over, you kind of see all the students you've affected and the people you've sent on their way. So it looks like Joseph, you've got your hand raised. You want to? Oh, that was the wave. Okay. All right. All right, John, take care, and we'll hopefully we'll run into you up here in San Luis Obispo sometime.
Absolutely. I'll be back. Absolutely. Take care.
All right, John.
Bye-bye.
Right,
You
bye-bye.
bet. Thank you.